So, hi, good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you for our data science webinar. Our industry expert, Mr. Prakash Patil, will help you to understand how to own a successful career in data science. He is an associate director of data science at PepsiCo, and Prakash has over 2 decades of experience working in this booming domain. So, we are quite excited to have you with us, Prakash. Over to you now. If I have missed anything, you can add.
No, thanks, Anurag. Thank you very much. And thanks for inviting me today. This has always been exciting as part of a knowledge share that we can, do or give back to the folks who are either aspiring to get into this territory or who are already into this territory and want to enhance their careers, right? So having said that, let me come to the agenda for today. So I'm going to roughly, cover 3 things. One is, let me share my content and get going from there. Just let me know if you can see this good.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to talk about 3 topics at a very high level, given the constrained time that we have. But pretty much, at a high level, what is data science at a very fundamental level, and a slight overview on machine learning. And then I would like to touch upon quickly on one use case that I want to discuss in terms of my own experience, solutioning for this use case. And then I would also like to share my own learnings, and disclaimer, these are all my own recommendations basis my 2 decades of experience in corporate, in terms of what it takes for us to get hired and what it takes for us to grow within the organization, right? And to me, these are slightly 2 different set of competencies. So having said that, let's get started. I want to start with this, a very popular analytics value escalator. For those of the folks who are already associated to analytics would certainly be familiar with this journey, evolution of analytics over a period of time, right? So we all have started with something which is called as a descriptive analytics. So what this means is you have historic data, you have historic information, and then we try to report the existing information in a certain view. From there, we have evolved into diagnostic analytics, wherein we then try to find out why do we see certain patterns or certain behaviors, in data that we are trying to depict or showcase. So an example could be, let's say if you're looking at the sales of an organization and it has been moving either upward or downward on a quarterly basis, then we would try to diagnose that why for a particular quarter has it moved down versus why for a certain quarter it has moved up. So what are the influencers, to those upward movements or downward movements. Then comes the next one, and I think this is where most of us are, and this is where the exciting part of the conversation today lies, which is the predictive analytics. This is the space where uh, we actually make a prediction or a forecast for future based on the past data. So this is where our data science, machine learning, we create models which learn the patterns from the past data, and then we are able to predict something for the future. And from there, in pockets, we are also evolving into prescriptive analytics, wherein I want to then take an action for future, and I want to take that action today so that I either want to achieve something, accomplish something in the future. So it's very prescriptive. I want to define what action I want to take today. So that is how it goes. And then if you look at this graph, clearly the difficulty level on the x-axis is going high, and the value on the y-axis is also going high. So as we move on this graph, the complexity is definitely getting higher from our journey to descriptive to prescriptive analytics. Okay, so I think this is a familiar view for those who are already associated to data science in some form or the other. But then let's come to a, basically what is data science, and the reason I wanted to talk through this slide is many a times folks come and they ask me, right, if you are setting up a data science team, what does it mean? Can I get all the skills in one person, or it's a combination of skills? So, and that is where I wanted to put this slide to give a little brief on what are the three key pillars for data science as a um, as an expertise area. So if you look at it, there are three pillars here. So one of it is very clearly, it is about the maths and the statistics, right? In the background, if you're running any machine learning model, the algorithms that run in the background, there are formulae, there is a mathematics that is running behind. So there is a statistical knowledge which is needed for us to become an effective data science. The second pillar is very clearly the programming part of it, right? And that's where the computer science or the IT comes into picture, and that's where our skills like Python, skills like R, or any of the statistical tools that we learn as programming languages, all of that lies here. And then there's also an overlap with IT. So we have to eventually host our application in certain environment, right? So it could be Azure, it could be cloud, it could be independent servers. All of that is the computer science and the IT pillar of it. And then the third one, which is a little bit underrated, but I think this is a very important one, is the domain knowledge itself. So if you're trying to become a data scientist, right, along with your statistical tool knowledge, along with your programming language, I think it is also important that we pick up and become expert in certain domains. So what we mean by domain and business knowledge is, I would be working for a bank, let's say, or I would be working for a retail organization, right? So these are different domains. It could be healthcare, for an example. So I may be solving a problem which is for a particular domain. And if I gain an insight into the domain, I would approach the problem in a very different way versus, I know nothing about the domain and I'm put as a layman to solve a data science problem for that domain. So to me, domain knowledge is very important as you grow up the ladder or become more and more of an expert for a specific stream. I think the domain is as important as your statistical knowledge or your knowledge on the statistical tools. So to me, if you are forming a data science team, I would look for people who can bring in these three skill sets together. I would focus on bringing in these skill sets. I would focus on math statistics. Of course, I would focus on the statistical tools that the folks are aware of. I would also want to know what domain they have worked on, right? If it's a relevant domain, if it's the same domain, then the learning curve is much faster because they understand the terms much faster. They know the nitty-gritties of how functionally different components are correlated to each other, right? So the learning curve definitely is lesser. So if you get all of this in one person, you're absolutely very lucky to have somebody who's an expert at all three. But I have typically seen in industry, we get a variation of, somebody being good on one side of the house, somebody being more expert on the other side of the house. So it's a combination of people that would form the data science. All right, let's get into a little deeper. I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking a little more deeper into how the life cycle of data science looks like, right? So as I said, it all starts with the domain, the business understanding. There is a problem statement in front of us, right, which we are trying to solve for. Now with that problem statement, the entire data science or machine learning as we understand, right, so machine has to learn from somewhere. It's only then it can predict. The algorithm has to be fed with certain data so that it is able to predict. And that's where the second component, if you see, which is data acquisition and understanding, right? That is the second most important piece here. The reason I say it's important is I have a slide after this where I will share how much of time a data scientist spends on really getting the data sources, cleaning the data sources, transforming the data sources, making the data sources ready for model consumption. And the actual model run really is a very small percentage of effort, right? So if we dig deeper into the data acquisition and understanding, right, there are several ways. So um, before we get into creating a pipeline for data, right, it is very important that we do certain experimentations. And that is where the left side of this view, which is a modeling view, is important. So you may pick up a sample data set. You may not really go for the entire set and do certain experimentations, which are giving you certain concrete results. And then you may want to run your experimentations through the entire superset of data. And once you start getting certain promising results through your modeling, um, then you establish that, I would want to go, and of course it goes through its own iteration. So modeling in itself, it has several components. We have to decide what features are relevant for us, what features are correlated to the target variable, what features are not relevant, which features we need to drop off, which features we need to select. And then we go on picking up our model, training the model, and then we also have an evaluation metric, right? Once your model is given an output, there is a metric against which you want to evaluate what the model is throwing at us. So this is the modeling side of it. And once we have frozen our experimentations, we have got some concrete results. We are happy with the models. We are sure that they're giving, let's say, good accuracies or good validation metric. Then we want to operationalize the whole setup, right? So so this is where I want to get everybody's attention a little bit, right? Sometimes we really enjoy the POC kind of work where you're given a sample data set, you run the algorithms. There's a lot of excitement to see what kind of model output you're getting. But an equally challenging space is to then operationalize the data and then bring the data into deployment and also deploy your model. So the bottom piece of this view, which is deployment, in my mind is becoming as important as doing the modeling piece, because um, as we are maturing in the industry, a lot of organizations are looking at deploying the solutions, right? Creating large scale solutions which can be deployed on a well-defined environment. Let's say it could be Azure, it could be AWS, it could be any of the Google platforms. And then when you deploy, we need to understand the nitty-gritty of another concept, which is MLOps. So MLOps is something on similar lines as the DevOps. So I would say that the skills that you require, even for deploying the model, monitoring the model, once the model are running in production, managing those models, monitoring the models, a lot of those skill sets are equally important, equally looked for by the industry, as much as the pure play, um, machine learning modeling skills, right? So we have to definitely add on to our skill set, not just learning the different machine learning algorithms, but then also how these successful experimentations have to be operationalized, how these successful models have to be then deployed in production. And then to be able to do that, how do we create those pipelines, right? So there's always a pipeline that we talk of. Any organization which is mature on the data science front, they have platforms where we have an end-to-end pipeline all the way from data ingestion to data transformation, to the modeling, to the post modeling, and then finally there is also a reporting, right? You need to ultimately report your model output. So in that scheme of things, all of these four aspects, right? Business understanding, data acquisition, deployment, modeling, they are all interacting very closely with each other in this life cycle. And I would say if you're learning data science, if you're learning machine learning, and if you have learned the basics, if you have finished the one-on-one, I think the one or two would be then to enhance your end-to-end deployment skills, which comes with a lot of close working, understanding the platforms, understanding cloud, understanding how the CI/CD implementations are done, understanding how the CI/CD configurations are made. So those skill sets are the delta skill sets, which will make you more wanted in the industry. Okay, so I will quickly move on to the next, and I just referred to this. A lot of the time a data scientist spends is on cleaning and collecting data sets. And I didn't want to bring up the number right away, but it is, you have seen it, it is 80%. This was, so if you look at it, what data scientists spend the most time doing, most of their time is going around data, cleaning it, organizing it, collecting it. And this is also the least enjoyable part of data scientists. Okay, people, data scientists would want to work on exploring new models, how the data is fed into the model and what kind of outputs you're getting, what kind of accuracies you're getting. But then the reality is a lot of the time is spent on understanding, cleaning the data and organizing the data. And that's where your domain knowledge comes into picture, because you need to be very clear in terms of whatever features you are selecting, right, through your statistical approach, are those the right features? Of course, there would be a business team who would validate that, but having a good domain knowledge will also help you provide a little bit of intelligence on what those relevant dimensions of data are that are useful for your modeling effort. All right, want to quickly get into one use case, and I've picked up forecasting. So for this use case, the objective that we had, and Anurag, please do let me know if there are questions coming in. I can definitely certainly pause here, or if you want to put the question towards the end, I'm good with that as well.
Anything is fine. Like people can put up their questions in Q&A. I don't think so. Like anything has come up so far, but if anyone has any industry relevant question, anything regarding it, they can put up. So we'll take it at the end. If it is more, I'll just let you know.
Sure. Okay, so the objective of this use case was to build an AI forecast, and then it was to be built for an organization, where we have a big product portfolio, and there are several dimensions we have. We have product hierarchy, we have time. It could be a weekly, monthly, and then there is a channel hierarchy. There is a customer hierarchy, and then they're spread across different geographies, right? So there is a geography hierarchy and other dimensions. So obviously the challenge, typically in any of the use cases, we see earlier the process is being done manually, and then the objective was for us to create an AI forecast, which is either beating the manual forecast or at least meeting the manual forecast. And the recommendation that came in is, and of course, we are talking about huge data sets here. The data set was running into millions of records. So you can only imagine how manually you can summarize these data sets, right? It's very difficult. So the objective was to analyze these large data sets using machine learning abilities, and then be able to produce AI forecast, which is either meeting or beating the manual forecast. So I don't know if, one question that we have to ask ourselves is, what has changed? We always had statistics, we always had large data sets. We always had statisticians who were working for us since decades. So what is that has changed really now that data science has become so popular? I don't know, maybe it's a question, open question for anyone to answer, but would like to know if anybody can answer this. What has really changed? So to be very specific, why data science over the last 5-6 years has picked up so much of attention, and why would everybody want to get into the AI ML space? And just to give you a hint, this is very much related to this use case point that I mentioned, right? We are talking about huge data sets here. We're talking about millions of records. So okay, I don't know if somebody has responded. Let's question Q&A. Okay, we'll come to these questions.
Prakash. So you can see like a couple of people have posted. Maharshi Trivedi, I think you can take that up.
Yeah. So the question is where and how to start a career in data science and machine learning. I would, so it also depends, right, Maharshi, where exactly are you at this point in time? So I would say it would be a little different for different set of folks. So for example, if you have programming language, and let's say if you have knowledge of Python, right? Then you could think of advancing your knowledge on that particular statistical tool. Start learning what are the different packages that are available out there, which Python. And the reason I'm saying Python is becoming more popular. You know, R has been there. R was quite popular among data scientists. But if you look at the industry adoption, I would say a Python knowledge is very helpful. That is a place I would want to start my one-on-one. Okay, so and then you start picking up a little bit, add it up with some of the statistical subjects around it, right? So probability and statistics, or some of the distributions, right? Concepts on statistics. So these two I would suggest would be the starting points. And then, as I said, as you want to move a little bit forward into this journey, then getting a good domain understanding is clearly a standout for any data scientist. Okay, I hope that answers Maharshi's question. So Abhishek is asking, can we do this course from non-IT background? Absolutely, I would. I don't see any reason why it cannot be done. It's just that if you're from IT background and let's say you've done some programming in the past, right? So the learning curve for picking up any of the statistical tool, like let's say Python or R, it'll be easier for you because you're already familiar how a program works, right? So programming concepts more or less remain similar at a very high level. So if you're from an IT background, it helps us, and they would find the Python learning curve is faster. But if you're from a non-IT background, but I think it's all about the commitment, the willingness to learn, the fundamentals come into the picture. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of these capabilities and competencies. Okay, some of those slides may answer some of these questions, but I think the bottom line is yes, absolutely, a non-IT background person can certainly look at doing this course. What is the age criteria for eligible this course? I would leave it to Anurag to answer that. I don't know if this is something very specific on the eligibility criteria.
Yeah, so I'll take it up at the end once I'll
At the
explain
end.
them
Okay.
how the things are and our program details.
Okay.
I'll take up these questions, criteria, and all those things.
Yep. Yep. So there's also a question from Kavita Amar saying, I'm having around 19 years of Java development experience. Is it worth for me to learn data science and get into a data scientist job? See, it's also a lot of a personal choice, Kavita, I would say. See, if you want to make a switch, because you're also definitely a lot of folks are moving towards data scientists as a field. But I would say if you're working already in some organizations, I'm assuming you are, then you will have to look for those delta opportunities within the organization. There are a lot of stretch assignments, there are a lot of critical experiences organizations are providing. There's a lot of cross learning that is happening within the organization. And then if you do a course and then tell your organization that, look, I've done this course, will I be given an opportunity to get a critical experience in some advanced analytics area, insights area? So there's several verticals in the organization, right? Finance has its own analytics, marketing has its own analytics. There is a dedicated data and analytics team. So if your organization is encouraging such cross learning, I think it would make more sense if you do a course and then tell your organization that, look, I have done this course, will I be given an opportunity to cross learn? And I see a lot of organizations encouraging that. It's just that your movement into data scientists may take some time laterally, right? Because you may not be pegged at the same expertise that you have in Java versus, you have learned something fresh in data science. It may go through a slight slowdown initially, because the lateral move takes time, right? Until you establish yourself at least as an intermediate level person or even a basic level person, right? So that's a personal choice if you would want to make that. And then it also depends, with 19 years of experience, how many more years you would like to serve. So if you're thinking of continuing in corporate another 10 years, and then if there's 10 years, it takes 2 years for you to make such a lateral move, then you still have 8 years to further work in that domain. I hope that answers. Okay, Abhishek Agarwal. I have 12 years experience in offline sales and distribution channel, but unfortunately this domain is very different as my field. Will you give me a right direction if I change the domain? So look, Abhishek, a very good question, because you come from the sales and distribution channel. A lot of this knowledge that you have towards the offline sales or even the distribution channel, eventually, if you're picking an analytic problem exactly on the other side of the fence for the same domain, you would be looked at as an expert over there. So I don't know if your organization already has an analytics team, but I have seen in organizations where people have moved from business into the analytics side, right? And they bring in a lot of, and this is where my domain expertise was coming into picture. A lot of organizations are welcoming these movements where they get a domain expert and let's say move them into the analytics side. They've parked them for some time being the domain expert, and then parallelly, you can cross learn what the analytics teams are doing, what tools they are using. You could start with something as simple as learning what is the basic reporting that is happening. And if there is an advanced analytics happening, you can start picking up, because I've seen people who have worked for domain, they started picking up data science team on the domain side, and then eventually moved into a pure analytic team. So yes, this movement is possible. Completely.
Prakash, sorry to interrupt you. Your voice is breaking. Can you just check it once?
Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah,
is it
being for 30 seconds? So I thought like.
Okay. All right. Is it better
fine
now?
Yeah,
okay.
It's better now.
All right. So that's my answer to you, Abhishek. Oh, there's a poll which has been shot. Okay. So while folks are answering this poll on DSML, let me continue with my content and we'll come back to the questions. All right. So this was a problem statement for a forecasting thing. I don't want to get into too much of a detail, but always there has to be a data summary. You must understand what is the data, what are the internal data sources that you're going to use, what are the external data sources. Nielsen, IRI, RSIs are very popular external data sources. These organizations, they actually collate data and they offer this data to different organizations for their own analysis, which is available on a you have to pay and get the data, and then you would have your own internal data sources, right? So how you want to deploy your data, how you want to extract the relevant features out of your data would all be decided by the problem statement that you're trying to solve. So in this case, we were looking for volume, we were looking for sales and promotion data. And when I say volume and sales, this is all about the products that we are trying to sell for the organization. So volume of product, sales of the product, what all promotion techniques we apply for increasing the sales of the products, right? And then there is external data, which has the pricing information for the competitors, which has pricing information for your own products, so on and so forth. So some of these are available in the Teradata, which is a well-defined data source. And some of these are available externally, which we may get as an input made available by third-party vendors. And then, of course, in the data, there were categories, right? So if I have to say FMCG, typical organizations would have broadly these categories. We have snacks, we have beverages, juices, grains. So these are the categories. And then we were doing this analysis for 2 markets, right? 2 sectors, for one of which we have 5 years of historical data. This is very important because the more historical data you have from a forecasting standpoint, more accurate results you can expect from your models. And then the dimensions that we were trying to solve for was time, product, geography, customer, right? So when I say product, you could have a brand level, then sub-brand level. So brand is at a high level. Sub-brand could be, the flavors of different products. And a lower level could be flavor and sizes. They comes in different packets, right? So like that, these are, and I'm taking an example of snacks. So we were trying to solve for different dimensions. So this was, the overall view on the data. And then from a modeling standpoint, I'll quickly cover the whole deployment, right? We did for this whole modeling on Azure, and then we had Databricks as computing, and then we had Power BI as our visualization tool. And then we also extensively used PySpark. So PySpark is something which enables faster computing. Those of you who have dealt with big data, they would understand why Spark is used. It enables faster computing. So we were able to reduce the runtime of models by introducing Spark into the code. And in terms of the modeling, there were several time series. As you move down the granularity of products, you get more time series. As you move up at an aggregation level, you get lesser time series. Always the business would want a forecast at a lowest level, at a SKU level, so that they should be able to plan for an SKU in terms of what is the likely sales that is going to happen, right? What is the likely demand that they're going to see? And entire planning depends on that. If I'm able to predict what is the likely volume of sales I'm going to have in next, let's say 2 to 3 quarters, then I can plan my manufacturing, I can plan my supply chain, I can plan my finances, everything in line with that prediction. So the more accurate our predictions are, the more accurate the planning that can go in behind. Of course, very specifically from a data science standpoint, we evaluated profit, tree-based regressors, random forest, XGBoost. And in fact, for many of the use cases, many of the time series, even a naive forecast gave us very good results, right? There were simple imputation techniques. All right, so this was a solution that was built and it was operationalized on Azure. And MLflow was the MLOps tool that we used, which has a registry feature, which enables to log the results of different models and go back and look into those models historically, right? So this was at a very high level, this was the solution architecture we had. All right, quickly moving on. And I just want to make a disclaimer here that I'm just going to make some recommendations. I think folks are asking what are the competencies needed, so on and so forth. So this is my view. This is my experience in the corporate. Um, so this is the first view which I have put in for freshers, right? If for getting hired for freshers, right? Typically, what do we look at? We look at the technical skills. We look at the core subjects. The freshers are also hired on aptitude skills, right? So maths, English, reasoning, data. All of you who have graduated doing engineering, applying for different organizations, you would have experienced how you're getting evaluated on your technical skills, aptitude skills, and certain organizations also do group discussions, right? So communication, listening, assertiveness, all of this is important. And of course, there's also a final interview, right? Where you see some of these aspects. I'm not going to get into each of these. These are very familiar for anybody who's a graduate looking for a job, has gone through the fresher hiring process, right? But then basically, these are the things observed in the interviews, right? If it's a typically an HR interview, you know, your ability to grasp a question, your ability to answer to the point, your ability to say a no, and how open you are to a feedback or a discussion versus how defensive you are, your composure, body language, so on and so forth. I'm kind of rushing through this because this is pretty much well known to everyone. I want to get on to the next one. So, okay, once you're hired, what is that is needed for us to grow within the organization? So it takes one set of skill set for us to get hired. And to me, it's a different, slightly a delta skill set which you require to grow in the organization, okay? So what are the other skills required? How do we grow in a corporate career and who are the top performers, right? So bottom line is, what are the competencies you need to focus on to grow within an organization? So to me, I would broadly categorize these into functional competencies and behavioral competencies. And if I have to consider data science in my background and then focus on these competencies, I would put the functional competencies across these major categories, right? So if you look at the technical, if I have to evaluate, typically I would look for these, from specific, and this could change organization to organization. But at a high level, it is definitely knowledge of one statistical tool, at least, like Python, or it could be a SAS, or it could be any of the other statistical tool. I would pay a lot of weightage to SQL because at the end of it, you would be doing a lot of slice and dice on SQL. I would also give weightage to cloud because most organizations are moving to cloud, pay as you use. And there's a lot of benefit that's deploying on the cloud. And then knowledge on ML ops, as I mentioned, right? Because ultimately organizations are maturing towards deploying the solutions, right? So if you're deploying the solutions, then you need to have some knowledge on how the productionalization part of it works. Then there is statistics. I would also pay attention to PySpark. It is gaining more popularity because there's a lot of parallel computing that happens, right? Parallel distribution. The whole reason why we are able to accomplish analyzing large amount of data in shorter span is also because we have capabilities like Spark. And then while EDA is not a technical skill set, but I would certainly look at the capability of a person on how he's able to explore data. What is his thought process if a fresh data set is thrown at him? Domain I already covered. I'm not going to, I would also want to understand what domain capability the person is bringing in. Delivery process competency. One very important thing for a data scientist is storytelling. I can never underrate this because at the end of it, data science is an evolving area, and it's an area where so I've been part of IT, right? It's very easy to explain an IT application than a data science solution to your business partners, because you cannot go and put machine learning models in front of them. You have to tell your story in such a way that you're able to connect to their business problem statement, right? And explain the whole analysis why you are recommending option one versus other. So storytelling is an absolute given, very important. And then on top of it, a lot of organizations are moving to Agile, Scrum, user stories, features, burn charts. So I would like folks to have that exposure. And then other things are estimation skills, work status reporting is a given. And a lot of weightage is also going towards what kind of research work team member has done. Anything on the innovation side, if the folk has written any papers, white papers, emerging technologies, or any patents, right? That also has value. So if you look at it, I have just put in one thing here. See, a lot of these capabilities on the functional side, they can be assessed to a reasonable extent in interview. This is where the functional competency, this will help you crack the interview. Okay, these are the competencies. However, the other set of competencies are, I just want to put in a few things which I have learned through my experience. And some of the organizations I've worked with have put in a lot of weightage to these capabilities in the team members, which cannot be assessed much during an interview, but these start playing out when you are hired by the organization. So you would look at, and these are called the behavioral competencies, right? These supplement the functional competencies. So which is more about fostering teamwork, accountability, planning, organizing, communication, so on and so forth. I don't want to spend too much time. This is more of a DS session. But I just wanted to give you this insight of what is important here. But then I certainly from a data science standpoint, one capability, we have a chat GPT which has come. We have evolving um, AI solutions coming in the market, and even the code that we are writing today in Python, there's a high likelihood that it may get automated eventually, right? So even a coder who's writing the code, a lot of it could get automated tomorrow. So what is that really sticks, and what is that one skill, which we have all need to really have in the industry is problem solving. I would pay a lot of attention on the approach of any person in the organization towards solving a problem, right? So this to me is one of the very primary skills. A lot of folks are very good at solving the problem. They're very result oriented. They take a lot of accountability and they chase the problem and get down to the bottom of it. So to me, that's very important. Okay, I want to take a pause here and see what more questions we have, okay, before we move on further. Okay, so age is something. I'm 38 years old. Will you please tell me, can I change the domain? Is this right? So Abhishek, your question is, can I change the domain? Now, do you want to change the domain also while you intend to get into data science? I would say no. I think you can learn data science, but stick to your domain because you're already having an expertise on that domain. And then when you add your data science skills on top of it, you would have a good combination of your data science and a domain. So I would not think changing a domain would help, but I think leveraging on the same domain. But again, it depends what domain are you in. So I would suggest leverage sticking to the same domain and add your data science skills on top of it. Okay. Kapil is asking, is analysis you in the export import industry? Can you elaborate on this question? I'm sorry, this question is not clear, Kapil. If you may want to just retype it. Okay, so this is something on the behavioral. Let's quickly move on. I just want to conclude with another slide that I have. This is more for folks who are less than 10 years and greater than 10 years in the industry. So, uh, I would say this is how I would segment it out for folks who are less than 10 years and folks who are greater than 10 years. I know this is not really talking to data science, but this is very generic, in terms of your exposure. But if you're more than 10 years, there always remember there's a 5-year guy waiting for you to replace you, right? So you would want to enhance your skill set as you move beyond 10 years. Typically, we need to have program leading skills, portfolio leading skills, strategic thinking skills. These are the skills which uh, would also be looked for if you have really grown beyond 10 years, right? Because that's the value you would be bringing on the table. If you're still bringing the same value even at 10 years, then there are always 5 years, 2 years, 3 years experienced guy who can give me the same skill set for a lesser price, right? So that would be my recommendation in terms of the split of experience. Okay, so Anurag, this was my last slide. I think we are 45 minutes. Do we have any further questions?
I think Kapil has rephrased. Can you just
Yeah,
check
is
it?
the analysis used in export-import industry? See, couple, to me, we can apply data analysis anywhere, provided we have data. So if your export-import industry has, everything is about data, right? There's nothing you are really making out of the blue. It is all the data that you have. It would be either captured in a loose process or a very well-defined process. A lot of organizations are spending a lot of time to define their data foundation. They're putting a 2 to 3 year or a 5-year roadmap to have a solid data foundation and then get into the analytics. Because if your data is not right, we all know it's a very common saying, garbage in and garbage out. If your data was loosely formed and it did not follow through rules, it was loosely captured, has a lot of mistakes, manual errors, then your models are only going to give wrong predictions or predictions which may not be useful for you. Or even your reports, right? Your descriptive reports, like your BI reports, visualization reports, where you want to showcase the slice and dice of data. If your data is not accurate, it will not work. So answer to your question, it can apply to any industry, provided you have data for it. And then that data can be analyzed and insights can be taken out of the data. All right, we have Savio asking, is it better to start as a data analyst and later switch on to a data scientist role? Okay, so data analyst is if somebody is already a data analyst, let me rephrase my answer in a different way. If somebody is already a data analyst, it would be easier for that person to get into a data science because he exactly knows he's already got into a habit of slicing and dicing data. But if you're starting fresh, is that necessarily it has to be that order? I would not think so. So you could start getting your one-on-one done on from a data science standpoint. You could start picking up, let's say you could start analyzing data using Python. So if you want to go through a structured learning, right, then I don't think it's an absolute must for you to be starting as a data analyst and then switch on to a data scientist role. I would not think that is an absolute must. But if you're already playing a data analyst role somewhere, then absolutely yes, that's a very natural progression getting into a data scientist role. So again, data analyst has to be understood very clearly, because we have data analysts sitting on the business side, and then we could have data engineers sitting on the IT side. There's a demarcation, right? So data analysts bring in a little bit of domain knowledge when they slice and dice data. The data engineers bring in a more of technology or tool set knowledge to slice and dice data, right? So they would know tools like Informatica, they would know tools like ETL tools to slice and dice or transform data from source to target, right? So there's a slight nuance change there. But yes, data analysts, if you have already played that role, I'm assuming you would have a lot of domain knowledge there. Do this course is valuable for degree holder or certification? What is the age criteria? I'll leave the age criteria question to Anurag, but
Yes,
is
yes, I'll
valuable.
take these things.
These two, Anurag, if you
Sure,
can take these.
sure, sure. I'll take it at the end once. You can change the slides, so I'll just cover up
Yeah,
what Manipal is offering.
yeah, let me go to that. Yes.
All right. So this is our overall program. This is actually a PG certification program in data science and machine learning. So I'll just brief you guys with the program details. Then if you have any questions, you can put it in the questions tab. So overall, it's a 9 months of a course duration, having weekend classes every Saturday and Sunday, live interactive class with MIT faculties. And at the end of the program, you'll be getting the post-graduation certificate from the Manipal Institute of Technology. Plus, if you talk about the whole curriculum, it's for each and everyone, as we'll start from the scratch only, from the literally basics of maths and stats, moving forward to the Excel, advanced Excel, Tableau, Python, SQL, machine learning, data engineering, NLPs, we have a elective subject. So as somebody who is a fresher who is coming to the course, yes, he can come up to the course. Basic eligibility, like somebody has asked, that is Abhishek, I believe. What is the age criteria for eligibility of this course? So there is no such age criteria, but yeah, minimum criteria is your bachelor should be completed above 50%. That is the minimum criteria which Manipal as a university is asking, as this is a PG program. So anybody who hasn't completed his bachelor's or graduation, they are not eligible for this program. Regardless of whatever profiles you guys are working in, whether somebody is from technical background, banking, finance, e-commerce, retail, supply chain, social medias, every company is collecting data. So anybody or everybody, as there is a lot of requirement in the market, like Mr. Prakash has fairly explained, and wonderfully he has given session on for everyone as a fresher level and people who are more than experienced on the 10 plus experience. So this program is for each and everyone who has completed his graduation above 50%. They can come up and inquire, and we'll definitely help you with the course details and curriculum. Abhishek, I believe I answered this. Second thing, if you see what all extra things which we are covering in terms of practical knowledge, in hand experience, because once you go for an interview, like Mr. Prakash has mentioned, what are the things which as a company is looking or expecting from you as a data analyst or as a data scientist? So we'll be having 7 intensive micro projects and 2 capstone projects. Now, micro projects are like after end of each module, you're getting one project so that you have hands-on knowledge on that tool. Like for first module is suppose Excel, you have completed Excel, but you will be doing a micro project on that. Even you will be confident how things are inside the industry. So likewise, 7 modules, 7 micro project, 2 main capstone projects are there. Capstone project is something major project you can say, or the real life industry use data set, the licensed version of the tool which we'll be giving, and the industry use case. So whatever you have learned from the top 7 modules, you'll be doing one capstone out of it. One capstone out of the electives. Electives, we have 2 things. One is data engineering part, which we have kept as an elective, and one is the NLPs, which we have kept as an elective. So if you're more interested in like big data, PySpark, Hive, Kafka, MongoDB, these tools and packages, if you want to cover basically ML operations, or if you're interested in neural networks, natural language processing, we have electives. So it may sound a lot of tools which I'm telling right now, but yeah, eventually during your journey, you'll get to know which things you are good at. Suppose if somebody is good on visualization, on the Excel part, SQL part, Tableau part, he can be a good data analyst. Somebody who's good in logic building, algorithm, deep learning, he can be a good data scientist. So you'll be eligible for all those profiles at the end of the program, whether it is a data analyst, whether it is a data scientist, a machine learning engineer, ML solution architecture, data architect. So lot many bifurcations has happened even in the recent, lot many new profiles has come with the industry requirement. Also, we have industry experts who will be helping you with the project part. Like if somebody is coming from a banking finance background, so we can help them to provide the relevant data set so that they can even cope up with the batch, complete it, and be having the competence. Plus, we'll make internal groups also in order to solve the projects, bit up sessions, Kaggle sessions. So we create internal groups also. And tools, talking about the tools, we are covering end to end each and every tool which is required as a data analyst, as a data scientist out in the market. Python, Power BI, Tableau, Spark, Advanced Excel, SQL, NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, TensorFlow, Keras, all the packages and tools we are covering at this. So you'll be learning how you can solve a business problem through the data visualization using the data visualization tools. And definitely at the end of the program, like once you talk why we are doing this program after all, to get inside the company, to get inside the good opportunity. So we also have placement sessions. We'll enable the placement session from the 6th month of the program, which will help you to refine your skills and competencies on aptitude, resume building, LinkedIn profile building, mock interviews, webinars, all the things we'll be taking care of. So to know more about the program, you guys can definitely reach out to us. For now, if anybody has any questions regarding to the program or the details which we are providing, you can feel free to ask in question and answer. I'll answer that. So if anybody is having any questions, just they can put it. Abhishek, I think, has asked, is do this course is valuable for a degree holder or a certification? So as I said, like minimum criteria is your graduation should be completed. This is a PG certification program for working professionals. It's a tier 1 certification. So any company you'll work for, you'll go for, this will be recognized. And although like placement is something we'll be taking care of, so nothing to worry about it. Will you please share career counselor number? I want some query about this course. Definitely, Abhishek. So we'll be reaching you out soon. We have your information and we'll reach out to you. A counselor will reach out to you if you are looking more about the program and program details. One guy is asked, how about the placements from your PG program? So as I said, placement will start from the 6th month of the program. Overall, if you'll see, we have a 98.6% impressible placement rate. So you have a very great placement team. We'll be taking care of 100% placement assistance from our side. There are certain criterias like Maharshi is again asking, is it a placement guarantee or placement assistance? So we have again a certain eligibility criteria for that, which year you are passed out in, that your counselor will get in touch with you and let you know.
All right, I have a hard stop, Anurag. I will have to drop off.
Sure, Prakash. So thank you so much for a wonderful session and the great insights which you have provided. Thank you so much again for the joining. I'll take up if they have any more question and we'll wrap up this. Thank you so much again.
So
yeah.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
All right. So, so this placement is online or offline? Good question. So see, this overall program is an online program. It's a live interactive session. It's an online program only, very interactive session. At the end of the program, you'll be getting your certification. Even the placement, what we'll be teaching you or helping you out, the placement session that will start from the 6th month of the program, that will be online only. So whatever the mock interviews, the webinar sessions, and your resume building, your LinkedIn profile building, what all projects you need to mention or not, we'll be having one-on-one sessions regarding your placement on that. That'll be online. It's a completely online program. Course fees, Maharshi is asking. So we have fees around 1,50,000. That is for a placement guarantee thing. Those people who are not placement concerned, just wanted to get insight and knowledges or who are already data analysts, placement assistance fees is 1,20,000. So there is no literally any difference. everybody will be getting same opportunity. Only the freshers and the working professionals, we have a different scenario which your counselor will tell you based on your eligibility on that. So if anybody is having any more questions, just 2 more minutes they can put up here. I'll just answer it. Otherwise, we'll be reaching out. Your counselors will be reaching out to you, and we'll be definitely helping with that. Somebody has a PGDM. Is this program still relevant? Can we have a sort of certification? Definitely, sir, Samir. Because see, even if you see the company requirements, there is nothing required that you should do masters or PG on those things. If you go in LinkedIn, directly type data analyst there. The requirement is you should have a strong hands-on on SQL, Tableau, Python. So skill sets are the thing which companies are looking for rather than a degree, which we'll be covering. This is more of placement oriented, project oriented, kind of industry oriented program which we are giving you. Is this the placement session, not actual placement happening, or we are getting selected through the session? This is the placement session, not the actual placement happening. So see, we'll give you a job portal access, Atia, by the 6th month of the program, and we'll help you to reach out to those industries where we have tied up with, like we have tied up with bunch of industries where our alumni are already working, like Amazon, Paytm, Capgemini, Wipro, TCS, Accenture, Equifax, Fracto, ICICI Bank. We have 300 plus companies who we have tied up with. We'll give you ample of opportunities in order to crack those interviews, the mock sessions and everything that we'll be helping you with. Definitely, Maharshi will reach out to you. Suppose if I'm doing this course in data analytics from other institute, but if I'll continue course in data science, is this possible if I migrate to your institute to join data science? So Abhishek, I don't know like where you're doing from. The only difference is this is a proper university program. It's not a private institute or a local institute program. That's why we have a proper screening round. And first we do the counseling that how suitable the course is for you. Definitely you can switch your course as you're saying, like already if you're pursuing data analytics, because data analytics comes with couple of tools, only 2-3 tools. While you talk about data science, you'll already be knowing the analytical tools, and plus it's always good to have certain add-on things for if you're looking for a better package and a higher package. And this will give you a value addition, this PG certification in data science, machine learning from a technical university to get you what you're looking for. Can I have any alumni number to talk them? This I need to make sure. Definitely, Atia. So we have a lot of alumni. As we have a screening process, once you get selected for the program, we have certain screening process. Once you apply for MIT application form, which your counselor will be guiding you, then we can connect you with the alumni as well. And once you're confident, you can go ahead with the course and enroll yourself. How much duration this course from data analytics to data science? How much duration this course? Can you just rephrase it, Abhishek? I didn't get your question again. Overall, this is a 9 months of a program. It's a post-graduation program. Total 288 hours of live learning you'll be getting. Every Saturday and Sunday, we have live classes. In case you miss the class, we have an option to watch a recorded video of the same session as well. So just rephrase it because I didn't get your last question.
There's a very interesting question by Natraj Nurag. He asking that he's 50 years old and he wants to switch. So how much do you think, if this option is viable for him?
All right, chat section. Okay, I got it. So Natraj, see, we have people who are working in JP Morgan and Chase as in management level. We have people who are in EY right now working in management level. So their age is also, that's why age is not a criteria or anything which we have. As people suppose who are already in banking finance since last 15-20 years, these are the emerging tools and technologies. There 5 years, 10 years back, if you'll go, there was no data science, no data analyst. Even the new profiles are coming. So that's why you can go on to management part. Like if you're working for any good product-based company, going for a good service-based company, we always need a people who have experience. So more experience you're carrying, you can go for the management level. You'll not be doing the data cleaning and all those things. Maybe your junior is doing. You'll be taking business decisions based on that. So age is not an issue. Definitely you can, not about switch, even if you'll be, because you're working as a faculty right now. Okay. So in edtech industry, if you'll see, there's a lot of requirement for the trainers, for the faculties, and for the personnel who are looking for these things. So definitely you can see yourself in any of the educational industries or consulting firms like EY, KPMG, Deloitte. Age is not an issue. Can you please repeat the fee structure with EMI is possible? So we have 1,50,000 for the placement guarantee, and who are falling on those clause. We have placement assistance for 1,20,000 for people who are more experienced, and we have 18 months of no cost EMI. So per month, no cost EMI, which we can help you with and provide you with. So definitely your counselor will be reaching out to you and helping you once you get selected for the program. And once your counseling is done, they'll help you with all the EMI option, one-shot payment, and all the flexibilities which we are having. So if anybody has any more questions, just put it, or let's again then, or if nobody has anything, we'll wrap up. And
Anurag, we can't hear you if you're talking in any case.
nothing. So I'm just checking if anybody has any more questions.
Since we don't have any further questions, we can close the session for today. So thank you everybody for joining today this evening, and thank you so much, Anurag, for your time.
Thank you so much, Afia.
So, yeah, have a good day, everyone.
All right. Bye. Thanks for joining, guys.